So, Hare Krishna and welcome everyone back to our weekly session. We are discussing Sri Prabhupada books in these sessions, and currently we are discussing Sri Isopanishad, the book written by Sri Prabhupada on explaining us Vedic verses of this one of the most important Upanishads that many great acharyas have commented upon, and Sri Prabhupada has also given us a commentary on this particular Upanishad. And we'll see. We'll do a quick recap of what this Upanishad talks about. So the Prabhupada has given us that the sadhya, that is Krishna, what is the ultimate goal to be achieved in human form of life? That is the sadhya. Every spiritual path, anybody who claims to have a spiritual path or some kind of a religion, some kind of spiritual practice, should be able to give us the sadhya. That is what minimum question we must ask. Just like if we are embarking on a journey, we need destination. A sick patient need goal of him is to get cured. A person working for a company, he wants salary. So there is something that we wish to achieve by doing anything. So if somebody introduces a religious path, a spiritual path, they should also be able to explain what should be the seeker who choose to perform it, follow that path, act according to the instructions given by a particular path, then what is it that they should hope to achieve? What is the sadhya? And it should be in very provided in very clear term. Just like for a patient, getting cured is very clear sadhya that he wants to achieve. And what is the sadhana? What is the process that a patient need to follow in order to attain that goal? Now his goal is to get cured. He has to cooperate with his doctors. He has to act according to the instructions given by the doctor. He has to do things and don't do things as the doctor may prescribe. He has to do. Doctors may prescribe him to do exercise, take some medicine, follow some certain kind of a diet, for certain kind of a lifestyle, sleep early, get up early, do this, do that, and we need to do those things. And doctors may also prescribe us to not do certain things. Sleeping late at night, no doctor will recommend this on their letterhead. Smoking, drinking, taking some kind of a drugs, uh, eating late, irrational, eating at different times every day. So there could be many things that the doctor may prescribe us not to do, which could lead to an illness or make our existing illness worse. Similarly, sadhana has certain do's and don'ts, and that is the process to be followed so that we can achieve our goals successfully in one lifetime. So sadhya is Krishna, and sadhana is Bhakti Yoga, and Bhagavad Gita establishes this very clearly. Ishopanishad establishes that the absolute truth of the Ishwara is person. Now there's a lot of confusion in this word that who that Ishwara is. Now, there will be many people whom we meet don't believe in existence of God, some kind of a God, some kind of a higher power. And there will be many people who will decline or who will deny there exists any God. They have no faith in the concept of God itself. So they reject God, they reject religion. And hence they accordingly they reject all kind of rules and regulation, do's and don'ts prescribed by any religion. But apart from these people, who is still a very large population in this world, there will be people who believe in some kind of a higher authority, higher power that exists, and they will also not have very clear idea as to who that God might be. God could be some Western, the Christianity, and describe God as the very old person. Very old person means he existed when nothing existed. Now that hell basis that they depict God as a very old person with white beard, white hairs, with some kind of a magic wand in his hand, and punishing people, wearing white kind of a clothes. So there's some description, some image of God comes up, but a lot of people, lot of religions in the world don't have very clear idea about if God is a person. If God is all pervading, how can he be person? How can you take a picture, show a picture of God? How can there be a deity of God? Islam propagates this, that God is all pervading. You can't take a picture of God. No, what is all pervading cannot be capturized in a frame, cannot be capturized in a form. So he is formless. So Ishopanishad is the first is the first book that Prabhupada started writing on this book even before uh, going to America. And he was when he started this Back to Godhead magazines, Prabhupada, the first thing is to elaborately give purports on the Ishopanishad, and he published them as a series of articles in Back to Godhead magazine. And later on, his disciples collated them and published them in the form of a book. So he didn't write this per se as a book, but more as a series of articles on all the mantras, which are compiled later together as a book by his disciple. But Prabhupada felt the need to clarify the personal presence of the, the Ishwara. The Ishwara, the absolute truth, is not impersonal, as they call it, or is not some kind of a light, is not some kind of a just an energy, just happiness is not God. Happiness is one of the feeling that is enjoyed by the God. God is always happy. God is Atma Ram. So that way, Ishopanishad is the first book that establishes that the absolute truth, the Ishwara, is person. And Ishopanishad doesn't directly talk about the Bhakti Yoga, but Ishopanishad uh, point us towards Bhakti. Then comes the book Bhagavad Gita, which is widely accepted book by all over the world by most of the philosophy, considered to be the philosophical masterpiece in the world. Now that establishes that the absolute truth is Lord Krishna himself. That the Ishwara that is being referred to in the Ishopanishad is a person, and that person is Lord Krishna. And he established, Bhagavad Gita also discusses various different paths of action of sadhana, but establishes that the Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate and the best form of yoga to connect with that Ishvara. Because that if you want to attain something, you want to know how you can do that. And so Bhagavad Gita gave the elaborate process of Bhakti Yoga. But Bhagavad Gita does not exactly break bhakti into practicable instructions, which are given in the Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction. So, in all these four books, Prabhupada provide us with complete information, um, uh, complete information to transform our faith, whatever it was before, to what Prabhupada want it to be, what Lord Krishna want it to be. And once we establish faith accurately, correctly, our faith is in correct place, we can, it's like hitting the highway, and then we just need to drive as fast as we can, as per our capacity, as per our desire. But while driving on the highway, also sometimes we may brake, we may take a break, we may pause, we may drive slowly, we may look here, look there, and it's even if highway is empty, it's not necessary that always we will have a desire to drive fast on that highway, which means even if all the knowledge is available to us, and all the facility is available to us, all the examples are there in front of us, of examples of how people make their life successful. Prabhupada disciple, Prabhupada has provided all the three. Prabhupada has given knowledge through his books. Prabhupada has created a facility called ISKCON. ISKCON temples are the facility where all the devotees can go and practice with like-minded people the principles of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada left behind him his wonderful disciples who are not just talking, or not just teaching the principles that were taught by Srila Prabhupada, but also living life according to those instructions and are personal examples of how lives get transformed, how law of karma gets changed. They're living examples of of someone who has escaped the law of karma, who is practically outside the, or has become out of the law of karma. Krishna says, Deviya Esha Guramayi Mamamaya Dharatvaya, but Mam Evam Prapadyante Maya Metam Taranti. These are the people who are floating above Maya. They're no more affected by Maya. And because they have developed such deep connection with Krishna that Maya has stopped bothering them. So those are our examples. And we have to see those examples, get inspired, see the facility, utilize that facility, and use knowledge in order to transform ourselves, purify ourselves, and move ourselves fast as we can on the highway of spiritual path. So we'll take a quick look at overview of Ishopanishad. Ishopanishad has 18 verses, and they are called mantras. They're not, we refer to them as mantra 1, mantra 2. And so those, and they additionally, they have a invocation words. So these verses tells the story. The invocation verse to verse 3. So these 4 verses together will teach us to live in harmony with Ishwara. So invocation, we'll go in little bit detail of this first section, the first from invocation to verse 3, and then we can talk about that more. Then comes the second section, mantra 4 to 8, where we can understand, we can learn that Ishwara can be understood, how Ishwara can be understood by developing spiritual vision. And as we do that, the mantra 9 to 11, the 3 mantra, the 3 sets of two sets of three mantras, 9 to 11 and 12 to 14, a very beautiful section which we'll discuss. But they tell us what is right and wrong vidya, avidya, so for understanding Ishwara. And then 12 to 14 tell us what is the right and wrong type of upasana for worshipping the Ishwara. And then we turn our attention, focus to that Ishwara. And then we offer prayers. Just like in the Shikshashtakam, the 5th prayer, the 5th verse that comes is offering prayer to Krishna. Oh, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkera Patita Mama Vishame Bhavam Muthu Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Dhuli Sadrusham Chimpaya. I cannot do it all with my effort alone. My endeavor is not sufficient for me to understand you, O Ishwara, O Almighty, O the absolute truth. So reveal yourself to me and give me knowledge about yourself. This is the best way. If you want to know more about our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the best way to know is when you sit in front of him face to face and he explains answer through a question answer series of question answer. You ask questions and he gives answer, and that way you understand him completely. You understand his innermost secrets. You can understand his innermost deepest desires, deepest fears, whatever he otherwise would not. All that information otherwise might not be available on Google, but this can be revealed by the person himself. Similarly, we are asking Ishwara to reveal himself to us, because with our own endeavor, our own effort, we can only do very this much. But if Ishwara chooses to reveal himself to us, we can know this much. We can know unlimitedly. Our knowledge about Krishna is actually unlimited, and we can learn that unlimited knowledge only if we get mercy from Krishna. So these 3 prayers, 15, 16, 17, 18, the 4 prayers are offering prayers to Ishwara to reveal himself to us so that we can understand him more, so that we can develop love for him more, loving affection towards him more, so that we can we can tell others about that Ishwara. We can practice ourselves. We can tell others, encourage ourselves, others to do it. We ourselves feel encouraged to practice Bhakti Yoga. So coming to the first section, we looked at a couple of verses already, invocation, and we've already seen introduction to this book, mantra, invocation mantra, and mantra one, which we have seen till last session. And invocation was basically talks about how everything in this universe is perfect for its purpose. That purna adha purna idam purna purna udachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnam eva avashishyate. So the universe, this current universe that we are living in, the material world that we are living in, is not imperfect. There could be many wrong things that we may see in this world. Good people suffering, bad people enjoying. Right from this to why some areas have floods and why some areas have droughts. Why there is a rain that happens on the on the ocean, whereas everything else, there's many places where there is no rain. So the purpose for which this material world is created, for fulfilling that purpose, this world is the world is complete and completely perfect. If we understand that purpose, therefore it is our responsibility to understand that purpose for which this material world is created. And if we can do that, then it will be easy for us to understand how this world is completely perfect. Even though we see many wrong things around us, they don't matter. So as long as by living in this world, we are able to attain the purpose for which it is created, as long as we can do that, the imperfections otherwise that we see in this world, the incorrect things that we see view in this world are of we can ignore those. That's nothing. So so it's important to understand that purpose. If we miss that purpose, it's like using a button mobile phone to type a book. We saw that by way of an example that for writing a book, we should take a better instrument, and it's computer with a keyboard where we can type fast and write that entire book in no time. But if we choose to do that using a mobile, which has three letters on every key, so for pressing C, I have to press four times, one button four times to get to C, and then A and then N. Uh, so that is extremely inconvenient. If our purpose in this world is to enjoy material sense gratification, then the world will offer us many inconveniences, many problems it will throw up. So, and that will tell us that the world is completely incorrect, the world is incomplete and imperfect. But Ishwara says world is perfectly complete and perfect. Now, if you so we need to understand why the world is created. So why the mobile phone is created with buttons like what they are. It is only meant for sending short text SMS, not primary purpose of that phone is to speak. So if we do that, if we learn that, and then accordingly, if you want to write a book, take the computer with keyboard. And when we go to that next instrument for that purpose, and we use this instrument for this purpose, we live in harmony. Harmony, our purpose is, and the purpose by the creator are aligned. So there is no conflict, and then we can use both these instruments properly. Similarly, we need to understand this world is created for liberation, for providing a facility to all the living entities for liberation. And the liberation happens by when one attains Krishna. They can break through the escape from the cycle of repeated birth. And if for that purpose, this world is completely perfect. Mantra 1 explains us that how everything belongs to Ishwara, how everything belongs to Ishwara, and uh, we're supposed to take our quota and not encroach other than what is our quota, knowing to whom it belongs to. It belongs to Ishwara. Everything is owned and controlled by Ishwara. Bhog and Aishwarya, Prasaptana. So why Bhog is sense gratification? Bhagavad Gita 2.44, the beautiful verse says that Bhogeshwarya Prasaptanam Taya Apaharata Chetasana. Aishwarya ensures that there is no interruption in the home. Ishwara gives us pride also, but uh, Aishwarya, the opulence, will ensure the control over the resources, material resources, ensures that our bhoga is uninterrupted. We can go on as much as long as possible. So we stock food grains in our home so that our eating can go on continuously for 1 year or more. So, so that is the purpose. The Aishwarya or the opulence or is the controllership. We have more and more land. We get more and more money. If we have more money, convert that into assets, grow those assets. Price of those assets increases so that ultimately that money we want to utilize for our enjoyment. So that was mantra one, and then mantra two, which we'll discuss today, will teach us about if we live in harmony with Ishwara, we will benefit. And mantra three, we will learn if we live in disharmony with Ishwara, we will perish. Now, quickly move to mantra two. Mantra two, the verse is Kurvan eva iha karmani jivash chatam samaha evam tvai evam tvai न अन्यथे तो अस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे. So na karma dipyate nare. So the translation is one may chatam means jivash chatam samaha. Chatam is shatam is 100. Jivash chatam samaha means one may aspire to live for hundreds of years. Now this is what the verse is telling, that one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if, now this if is very important, what follows after the if is very important, if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. Now nare means man. Now nare is generally indicatively used to describe human beings, which includes women as well. So nobody should think that this verse is meant for men only. This verse equally is applicable to all the living, all the human beings, especially not all the living entities, because the species other than humans don't have capacity to understand spiritual knowledge, so it's not meant for them. But humans have this extra capacity to understand spiritual knowledge, and they should, therefore, this is meant for them. So, so what this verse is saying, we'll read it again. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this for the man. We'll have some group discussion in this session. So I request everyone to keep their microphones ready, pay attention, stop doing multitasking. We don't ask you to keep your video on, but that doesn't mean that hopefully you're still listening. It's a distance learning, digital learning, that this platform is has to be utilized correctly. If we do multitasking, we'll neither learn nor we'll be able to do the other tasks which we are combining properly. So we should do one thing at a time. That will be wonderful. So I'll expect all to participate and give your comments, thoughts, ideas in the group discussion. So the purport in the purport, it's a small, it's a longish purport, but not very long. It's about 5 to 6 paragraphs. Purport is written. First para, Prabhupada writes, explains that how karma bandhana causes death. We'll discuss this in detail, and then Prabhupada goes on to explain that how human life offers liberation through akarma. Vedas ultimately teaches akarma, which is nothing but pure devotional service or actions performing Krishna consciousness. Begin by bringing God into sense gratification life. That is paragraph 4. So why it is required? Because even though one may desire to become postgraduate or a doctorate, one has to start from a lower level. One has to start by going to KG, kindergarten, and then prep one, prep two, and then first standard, then gradually come to the 10th standard, then 15th standard, and then come to the postgraduate studies. Even though that is desirable, this cannot be ignored. So people might be at different stages in their evolution, in their evolution on the spiritual path, in their learning on the spiritual path, their development of faith on the spiritual path. They will be at different level. They are at different level. And to make the Bhakti Yoga inclusive, Krishna has always provided different options for different people. Not everyone will, not one size will fit all, which means he has created a system in which everyone can get something for themselves for learning and progressing. It's a progression. There's a path of progression. There's a ladder. And one may absorb some knowledge now and then go to the next stage, then next stage, then next stage, and eventually come to the perfect pure devotional service. So so people are unable to give up sense gratification. Today's life, you can all experience, we all have experienced this, we all can see all around us that people are too much into the sense gratification. People are dying, people are suffering heart attacks, but they are unable to give up their lust for eating meat, lust for smoking, lust for drinking alcohol. And because that's how they have that's what they've been doing all this life. And even life-threatening diseases are unable to prevent them from giving up those addictions. So people are living in a very bad condition today as we look around. So they cannot immediately become pure devotees. Nobody can. So what can be done then? Does it mean that they can be excluded from the progression, path of progression? No, they need to be included at their level, at their space, at their pace, and from at a place where they are, and at pace. Pace means speed at which they can progress. We should provide opportunity from the whichever path, whichever place they might be. They might be dog eaters today, but bhakti is meant for everyone. uh, Keshav Swami Maharaj beautifully says that one sentence, that every sinner has a future and every saint has past. So every sinner today has a future because he is sinning in that means he has a long way to go, but there is a way to go. It's not completely blocked. It is just because you are sinning today, you have no way to go. Just have one way to go, then go to hell. That's never the case. Krishna provided equal opportunity for everyone to take to Krishna consciousness and become conscious of Him and progress, flourish. So that facility is available to everyone, each and every one of us, each and every living entity, each and every human being, especially male and female, both men and women, both. So at whatever place you are in the hierarchy, whichever level you might be, you can make a start by bringing God into your activities. Bring God, recognize, acknowledge existence of God, presence of God, the providence by God. Whatever you are enjoying, the sense gratification that is provided by God. Thus, simply by acknowledging this, we make a start. It's not end, but it's important to start from somewhere. So everyone can make a start, no matter how sinful their lives can be today. So, but if this also cannot be done, then Prabhupada writes in the fifth para that without God, everything is vain, in vain. So what is done, which is seen as glorious at times, if it is done without acknowledgement of presence of God, without acknowledgement of God, it goes in vain. We discussed last session communism and capitalism, communism, and varnashram. And Varnashram is the only ashram which recognizes God, and that's why only that is successful. The both capitalism and communism, they have no recognition, no understanding of God, and hence, they both are wrong. So that way, without God, everything will be in vain. Make all altruisms different kind of benefit. Altruism is the benefit activity that one may perform for living entities. One may feed food to humans. One may, in summer, a lot of people give food to animals. A lot of people keep water on trees so that they get thirsty animals can come and drink. Thirsty animals, birds can come and drink water. There are many rescue teams who try to rescue birds who get caught in the various cables, electric cables, and so on and so forth. There are many snake teams who come and catch a snake. People generally get so scared by seeing snake, they just kill him. But these teams then come and then they pick up the snakes and then they take them out, either leave them in jungle, so take care of them or whatever they wish to do. But they save those snakes and then so on and so forth. There are different type of people who offer different kind of help to the living entities. And this is also so all altruism, Prabhupada writes, but bringing God into it should become karma yoga or can become devotional service. So no one, Prabhupada writes in the purport, no one wants to die. Prabhupada begins this purport that no one wants to die. Prabhupada is making reference to the translation. If you remember, translation is where Prabhupada, Krishna said that, or the Prabhupada is writing that one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. Now, so Prabhupada writes that no one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only in individuals, but also collectively in community, society, and nation. Even in animals, we see an animal will not surrender easily. Even if the deer is less powerful than a tiger, but whenever a tiger attacks, deers try to escape as much as he can. They will run as fast as they can. They can, they can do run zigzag. They can do run fast, but as they will try to save themselves from death. It's not that they will just surrender to a tiger, knowing fully that, oh, I'm weak, you are strong, I'm anyway your food, so please come and eat me. I'll do nothing. I'll just sit here and allow you to kill me and eat me. No, tiger also has to earn his meal by working hard. That's the law of material nature. Everyone has to work hard. If for there is food provided for each living entity, however, everyone must work hard to get to that food. A beggar also has to work hard to earn his living, and so is a very rich businessman. So there is this tendency is visible in all the living amongst all living entities. There is hard struggle for life by all kind of living entities, and the Veda says that that is quite natural. If everyone wishes to live forever, then what is the purpose of saying in the translation? We read this line already that one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. What does it really mean? Can somebody answer? You can raise hands and you can. This is a slightly difficult question. So it has basically a reference to the previous verse. Yes, Sudhi Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, what I understand here is, yes, when they say, and whatever I am saying, Prabhuji, is what I have understood. Please correct me whenever I go wrong. So, what this verse wants to say is that people, we always want to live, right? So that is the natural tendency of any living entity to continue to live. And live in the sense is that we always think that we are living to remain happy, and as long as forever, as long as possible. However, under the material senses, under the laws of material nature, we keep on binding ourselves into the Maya Jal. And what happens there is that we slip into death. So as soon as we keep on binding ourselves into Mayajal, means we keep on working, we live with enjoying the material senses, or either we enjoy the pleasure of our work, or we face the pain of our misdeeds. Uh, so whatever we do, we think that we are doing it for our enjoyment. Uh, in under Krishna consciousness, we only come to know that yes, whatever we are doing, we should offer to the God. So we should do our work in the rightful nature, in its all rightful way, and offer it to God, and let the outcome be decided by the Lord. So we do not wait to see the pleasure when it is a success, or we do not need to wait for getting the pain when it is when it is failure. So here, what when we see that we are living, I want to understand that this living is something which we are enjoying, and we want to enjoy forever. But whenever we sleep, we think that yes, it is death, because when we fail, we sometimes see that we sometimes see the pain of a death there. So this is what I get it, Prabhuji.
Okay,
Thank you, Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice answer. Thank you so much for such a beautiful detailed answer. Vikas, would you want to say something very quickly?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So as Prabhupada is saying here that books in translation, one may aspire to live for 100 years. If he continues to goes on working in that way, and as Prabhuji mentioned, so it is like Lord Krishna says in third chapter, ninth verse, that Yagnarthat Karmano Anyatra Lokoyam Karm Bandhana Tadarsam Karma Konteya Mukta Sangha Samachara. So if we just keep on working, as Prabhuji in elaborate manner explained, that for Krishna actually, for whatever we may have so many desires to develop individually in a community, in society, or in nation, but if that becomes the Krishna centric, then ultimately if one goes on living even for hundreds of years, then he can do so without bonding himself in the cycle of birth and death. And as you mentioned in that it has good reference of the mantra one also. So whatever quota of our miseries, suffering, or pleasure will be coming, it will anyway eventually be coming. So we need not to pay much heed to that, and rather devote all our activities in Krishna conscious way, or perform every activity in a Krishna centric.
Yeah, the question, yeah, I mean, the other way of looking at it is, we see that not everyone is living life according to this principle. The Ishwara principle that we speak about, that everything is the first verse, invocation verse, that everything is owned and controlled by God, and everything is complete. God has created complete and perfect facility. And then the first verse, which explains that that Ishavasa idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Everything is owned and controlled. Everything belongs to the, the so we should take basically our quota, everything knowing fully that to whom it belongs to. Everything is owned and controlled by Ishwara. And but we see that everyone around us, all of us, many people around us are not working according to this principle, and they also aspire to live for hundreds of years. Then, then why is Prabhupada saying that this only if you follow this principle, only then you should want to live for hundreds of years? What happens for others, those who also aspire to live for hundreds of years? Jyoti Madhuri.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, it suggests that if one engages in righteous and purposeful actions, their life can be enriched and be meaningful, potentially leading to a long and fulfilling existence. So, a life well lived is not solely measured by its duration, but by the quality of one's actions and their impact. Prabhuji, this is what.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's very beautifully worded. Now, see what I'm trying to hint is that that's correct actually. What Jyoti Mataji said, Vikas Prabhuji said, and trying to hear we what Sudeep Prabhuji also mentioned was all very beautifully worded sentences. And so now we'll just move on right now. Bhagat Prabhuji, and just you can contribute subsequently. We have more opportunities for discussion. So we'll quickly move to the next the same aspect. But if we live sinfully, now if we live in a proper way, now that's what was spoken by all the three devotees. Their focus was that we should live in by acknowledging Ishwara's presence in our life. By living life in Krishna conscious way, live to we live life according to the instructions of Ishwara, that is God, and then we don't bound ourselves. But we know everyone is desiring to live for hundreds of years. So if a thief live longer, if a sinner lives longer, Krishna says, we everyone commits sin. Whoever is eating food without offering it to Krishna, he is eating sin only. The yajna shishta shinha santo muchante sarva kilvishe bhujante te tadham papam. So that papam is there, and if you look around ourselves, we see everyone, most of the people who we can see are actually eating without offering it to God, without offering it to Ishwara. Now, even there, that what they are eating is not stealing always. They are not stealing, but Krishna says this is stealing also. The 12th verse, third Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this is stealing. Stena eva hi kevalam. Krishna says this is stena. Stena is a thief. When you are thief and you are sinful, and then you hope to be peaceful and happy, how is that going to be possible? A thief and a thief and a sinner can never be happy, can never be peaceful. And if you cannot be peaceful, you cannot ever become happy. So that's why everyone in the world is miserable. And if you if you're a thief and if you're a sinner, and if you also have a desire to live long, live for hundreds of years, what will you do during those 100 years? You will commit more sinful actions. You will commit more. You will steal more. You will आप ज्यादा चोरी करोगे और ज्यादा पाप करोगे, and that creates more and more karmic bondage for yourself to escape, to burn, and more the bondage, more miserable our condition can become, and hence, so the desire to live hundreds of years is correct desire if one when one is living for the with the right consciousness. Take a look at this picture image, and then we'll have some questions to answer. What is happening here? Yeah, somebody can raise hand. This is a simple question. So, Vaishnavi, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Maybe something terrifying, horrible, or something.
Horrible. So people,
Yes.
who are these people? What are they doing? This looks like what?
Cinema.
Cinema? Okay, movie hall.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they've come to watch a movie, and
Yes, Prabhu.
they're probably wearing goggles, so it could be a 3D movie, 4D movie, and all of them look happy, crying. What is the emotion that is seen?
Like they are terrified, they are scared.
Terrified, they're scared. It could be a horror movie or some horror scene that's happening, something horrible happening on the screen, maybe. So that, so thanks, Vaishnavi. So the next question: why have they come to the theater at all? Why are they here? Yes, Jyoti Mataji.
To enjoy the movie, Prabhuji,
Okay.
for
So they-
enjoying, for entertainment purpose.
For entertainment, yeah. So they
Or
have
for some may be some maybe might be going through some pain or something, so just to forget all that what is happening around them, so making their time a lighter one. So for that, they must have come for entertainment or some for fun also.
Okay, fine. Sachin, you want to say something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I think because they think that this is the temporary solution for their problems. Like they'll watch movie, they'll forget the problems they are facing in real life, and in illusion they feel that they are happy and it is right now our reality. They know that it is illusion, but to avoid their problems or to feel free for some time when they don't know the spiritual path, so they think that this is the real enjoyment they can experience. So for short time they can forget about their
Yeah.
problem.
So they all of them have some innate desire. Not that they have been brought forcibly. They have not come for free. They all have paid, right? So we pay. We find some value in it. So all of them have some desire to fulfill. There is underlying desire um, amongst all of them because of which they have come. Okay, let's move on. Slightly tricky one. Why people feel so many emotions when they are watching this movie? What is it that is giving them, making them feel scared, or some other emotions also they could be experiencing? Why people feel so many emotions while watching movie? Somebody who has not spoken so far, please raise hand. These are movie questions. All of us have watched movies. Yeah, Bhagat Prabhuji, sorry. Bhagat Prabhuji, then Ashwini Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. And thank you for the wonderful session. I would like to say that these movies and the emotions that people are experiencing is closely connected with their chitta and vritti, which is the subconscious mind and the form which the mind will assume with the emotions over the many, many lakhs and previous births which they have encountered. So, basis the personality which they have in their earlier births of fear or bravery or the tendency of inclination to like movies, that will carry forward because the Atma is Ajar Amar Avinashi. Only the body changes, the thoughts, tendencies, feelings, actions, they carry forward. Also similar to what you were mentioning earlier, why people don't live thousands of births. So in the 8th chapter, 24th verse in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they mention those who are advanced in the science of yoga can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. So when you're advanced in the practice of yoga, movies and all will not attract you. The only thing that will attract you is love for the dust of the feet of Krishna and to attain moksha. And movies also are a distraction. Happiness is a distraction. Sadness is also a distraction. You have to be even-minded. And the only feeling that you can have in your heart is bhakti, devotion, and a longing for Krishna, as if a 3-year-old child is separated from its mother. If we weep for Krishna in that same way, rather
No,
than
no, that's
weeping.
fine, Toji. My simple question is why people feel so many emotions when they watch movie? What is happening inside the movie hall? I want to more focus on the movie hall right now. But Ashwini Mataji and then Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I think people got totally involved in the movie while watching those movies, and they have some fantasies, they have some wishes which they can't be fulfilled in this situation. So they will connect themselves with the characters in the movies, and that's why they got so much involvement.
Very good, very nice. Priya Mataji.
Okay, yeah, on similar lines, yeah, people are very involved, invested, and they're kind of attached, emotionally, and it appears as if it's not a movie, but it's happening in for real. So they think it's all a reality, and they're so entangled. Just as we are very entangled and invested in our material life, and everything seems very real and permanent, like as if it's going to last forever, and it's actually happening, and this is the only truth. So yeah, for a while they are under the illusion that it's all happening for real, and so they get very emotionally invested in it.
Okay. Next question. What can they do to end their suffering? Now they are suffering. They're getting scared. Even though there is no immediate danger to their life, all of them were sitting in a cozy chairs, soft cozy chairs. Assumingly, the theater is also air-conditioned theater. Nobody is seeing sweating. They must be having some food stuff in front of them, something to drink. So they are actually sitting in a very comfortable position, but their facial expressions look very miserable. So what is it? Roji, can you make somebody become got unmuted? Vikas, Roji, can you mute them? Yeah.
Done, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So now whatever is happening on the movie theater, now they paid to experience those emotions, but they are getting scared. They are feeling sometimes miserable. Sometimes they laugh. So now they go through this emotional, I say merry-go-round or emotional the ride. How they can, if they are suffering in that condition, what they can do to end their suffering? How can they end their suffering? Yes, Nupur.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, they just have to, get out of the cinema hall, and that will end their suffering. And also, if they realize that this is just temporary, I am here to experience something. I have paid to experience something, and this is not immediately related to me at all. And that's how they can realize that.
Yeah,
Yes,
the last
Hare Krishna
question.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. It's such perfect answer. Very beautiful answer. So yeah, they should just get up and get out, and that will end their suffering. Then whatever, if they come out of the theater, whatever is happening on the screen, they more are related. They're no more related with it. How we can relate this entire episode or whatever the previous questions with us in the material world? Yeah, Sandhini Mataji, and then Ashwini Kumar Shukla Ji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
With regards to your earlier question, like they're getting scared and how they can come out of that misery, I feel that we normally have a tendency to do things by our heart, whether it is the work in the house or work in the office or even watching movies. So as long as we don't involve our heart and mind, we just involve our brain, so we can definitely come out of that level, and we can rise ourselves up. That is one thing that I have observed. Then we can definitely not feel any sadness or happiness. We will feel watching movie, that how is this actor performing, how is the director and the musician and other things going on, and we will watch everything at the intellectual level if we don't involve our heart and mind into it. This is what I feel. And with regards to connecting it with your with the next question, connecting it with the spiritual aspect, same thing again. With the spiritual aspect, we need to involve our heart and mind completely into it, even the intellectual aspect, rather than mechanically doing things what we are asked to. This is what I feel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, regarding the first comment that it can be only done at a very intellectual level, that is desirable, but it's very difficult. Like this watch, I'm a purchase. Now, before this watch, I had 3 other watches. So practically, there was no need for me to wear a watch, buy a watch. But the watch, the moment I saw it, now the brain was obviously telling me there's no need to buy another watch, and the heart, the emotions, they were overflooding in my heart, saying that you must buy this watch. This is so wonderful. This dial color is so nice. The price also seems very okay. It's not very costly. This, that, and there was there was a battle inside me, and my heart won. I'm sure most of you will experience the same when you go out shopping. And so, though that is desirable, it rarely happens. So we can't really work very rationally. The rationals are required, but we act emotionally. We act with heart. So that is bound to happen. So, so we can, yeah, I'll still go to Nupur and then Anuradha Mataji for this. Let's continue.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat
Yeah,
Pranam.
the last question, right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay. Prabhuji, so how we can relate this with us in material world is that when we understand that life is already on an autopilot mode, then we can better understand and realize that I have been in this material world for many thousands and crores of lifetimes, and I have experienced, maybe I have experienced this which I'm experiencing now, happiness, sorrow, misery, earlier as well. So this is just a cycle, and this is part of the material world. Happiness and distress both are going to be there, and anything we are experiencing is just a temporary thing. So if we are experiencing happiness in our lives, it is also temporary, and if we are experiencing sadness, sorrow in our life, that is also temporary. So, and ultimately we have a spiritual life, we have a spiritual self, we are spirits, and we are connected to Krishna, and that's how we can understand that. That is what I feel. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, that was now.
Hare Krishna. Nice, nice. Yeah. Anuradha Mataji and then Jyoti Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. So just how they went inside the theater by their own desire, and now they are suffering in ocean of emotions. So similarly, we also entered this material world by our own desire, for the enjoyment, separately from Krishna. But now we also understand that we are also suffering here. So we also similarly have a chance to go back to Him. But it all depends. I mean, whose association do we have? If we see in that picture, there are a couple of people along with them. So sometimes that is also one of the issue. If one of them would want to go outside the theater, the other would keep them inside the theater. Okay, let's watch it. It's for a few more moments. So similarly, we also feel attachment towards our family members or close ones, and that is the one of the reason why we are suffering from thousands of births. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Very nice point regarding that. Sometimes the person sitting next to us may ask us, no, let's continue. Maybe this will get over. Maybe some funny scenes will come, and that way we may continue. Very nice angle that you brought in. Yes, Jyoti Mataji, and then Vilas Vaji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, while the ultimate goal of ending suffering may be a spiritual pursuit, but there are practical ways to address and alleviate suffering within the context of our material lives, like self-awareness and mindfulness. So, in this material world, practicing self-awareness and mindfulness can help us recognize the root cause of our suffering. So, by becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we can understand better how they contribute to our suffering and take steps to address them.
Yeah. So the relationship with this movie metaphor with our material world and our spiritual practice is in the answer to that is that that comes in the first couple of questions itself. Why they came to theater? Because they wanted to enjoy. Similarly, why we came to this world? Because we also had a desire to enjoy. Now, let's not be mindfulness, or the other thing that you mentioned is hiding. Is when you're going to bring water, you can't hide a pot because the pot is where you will fill the water and bring. So there's no point in hiding it behind these terminologies because we had those desires. That's why we are all landed up over here. So um, this relationship with this with our current material world and our own self inside this material world and practice of spirituality is to see things as they are. And as Nupur Mataji described, Anuradha Mataji also described that that's a right line of thought. That's what I will say. Vikas Prabhuji and Satyan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. And so, as you beautifully mentioned that the Nupur Mataji's and Anuradha Mataji's reference, they made two beautiful points. One, Nupur Mataji in the previous question to this, that they simply need to stand up and get out. And second, Anuradha Mataji's point that but association matters, that someone will pull us. So Swam Bhagwan Keshava Swami Maharaj beautifully explains that when we see a child crying when he lost in a computer game, and we are standing aside, we can see this is just a computer game. And when we analyze our life in that similarity to that computer game, we find that we are also trapped in the computer game itself, and the kind of pain and miseries we are, or the pursuits we are taking up, those are actually imaginary in nature. So ultimately, no point pursuing in that relation. So how we can relate this with our in material world, as you mentioned that the soul intent to desire without the lordship, without the ownership of Lord Krishna, and ultimately what we need to do is to find the ways and means how to get out from here. And those are definitely as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and our acharyas elaborates that. So that is what we need to do actually, and that is what the kind of relation we can get with this example of watching movie. Whatever is happening in our life, that is just equivalent to one movie going on, and we are actually totally engrossed and totally embedded, means our consciousness is totally embedded in that movie. Rather, that movie is getting directed by our karmas or the of previous years or previous births, laws of nature. And rather, just we need to surrender to the Supreme Lord, who says that Mamevya prapadyante maya mitam taranti de. Ultimately, we can reach him. So that is what is my understanding from this. Hare Krishna.
Thanks,
Dhanavad
Rajiv.
pranam.
Hare Krishna. Nicely worded. So we'll move on. We'll probably have another place where we can also get into another discussion, but let's conclude this. So basically, as Karan rightly summarized by many of you, most of you, in a very conclusive way, and just summarize it here. Most of these points are already covered. So the audience comes to the theater due to their desire to enjoy. Had they not had a desire to enjoy, they would not have walked into that theater itself. So the audience gets emotionally after coming to the theater. When the movie starts, their audience connect themselves emotionally, get attracted to a character in the movie, say a hero or a female character or somebody, and then whatever happens to that character, the audience experience those emotions. Now we are discussing the death about the death of why we experience pain at all in the material world. So we experience pain because because as audience we are like a uh, we are like the one who has gone into the theater, and we get attached to a character on the screen, and whatever is happening to that character, we experience similar emotions. For example, if there is a big fight that happens between a hero and the villain, and the villain delivers a big blow on the head of that hero, and then hero dies. Hero dies, and all of us are horrified. We all feel horrified. And now nothing wrong, nothing, there has been nothing wrong with us, but we all experience the pain. So on screen, character is like our body, and the person watching the movie is the soul. And due to this attachment with the person on the screen, the soul experience the pain and the joy and all other emotions. The soul is Satchidananda. Soul is, as Bhagat Roji also mentioned, that soul cannot be cut into pieces. Naidam chindante shastrani. Soul na jayate mriyate va kadachit, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So all these are descriptions of soul. Soul cannot be destroyed. Soul cannot be cut into pieces, burned by fire, withered by air, or water, weight becomes weight by water. No, so nothing can happen to the soul. Soul is a completely different material. It's a spiritual material, and none of the material elements can hurt a soul. And matter is dead matter. So, for example, this is a table on which the laptop is kept. Now, I slap a table, or I pat a table, it cannot differentiate. When I pat a person, they feel happy, and when I slap a person, they feel sad. Table cannot experience any of those emotions because table as dead matter is a dead matter and it cannot experience emotions. But a human being, a living entity, is a combination of spirit and matter. And because of spirit's attachment to the matter, just like because of the person who is watching the movie is so attracted and attached to that character on the screen, when that character, whatever happens to that character, this viewer also experiences the same emotions. Similarly, the soul experience misery in this world, pain in this world, when because of its attachment to the body. The soul independently cannot experience misery. It cannot experience pain. The matter independently also cannot experience pain or pleasure. But in combination, because of the soul's attachment, and between the two, the soul has the consciousness. The soul has the capacity to desire. Soul has capacity to experience. Matter has the capacity to experience. It's so the soul, because of its attachment to the matter, because of this attachment to the enjoyments that it hope to get from the matter, um, the soul experience pain out of that attachment. And independently, even though both of them can't experience pain. So how should one stop pain, the painful suffering experience? One should just stop watching the movie. One should just get out and get up and get out of that movie hall, so that whatever happens in the movie theater no more affect the person. Because writes in the paper that living entity, the living being is eternal by nature, but due to his bondage in the material existence, his and hers, read it as his and her both. So everyone is basically meant for men and women both. Because of due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul, or karma bandhana, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood because that is the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the law of nature and bind himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in many other species of life. The 13.22 shloka says that Purusham Prakrutisto hi Murte Prakrutja Gunan Karana Guna Samvasya Sat Asat Yoni Janmasu. You take birth among sat higher and lower species of life, Yoni, or because of your attachment, because of your work done by getting attached to the modes of material nature. And why do you act? Because you have a bhunte prakriti jaguna, because you have a desire to enjoy the matter. And that is why you are locked into the cycle of repeated birth and repeated birth death. So human life offer liberation through akarma. Human life offer an opportunity, a rare chance to the living entity, to the soul, to attain liberation by ending this cycle of repeated birth and death. And how one can do that? By performing karma. Now we're moving on to in the per part, we're moving on to the second section where Prabhupada is explaining karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter explains what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma. Now the actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. So duties as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, and both are important. One may do duty of feeding his children by killing other people and robbing other people. Now that is not what is mentioned in the revealed scriptures. So one should not take this sentence in isolation. One should look at the entire picture. So prescribed duties as mentioned in the revealed scriptures are called karma. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. Now, these are actions in performing Krishna consciousness, where there is an action which looks similar to the karmic action, but this does not produce any reaction. So the first, even when we are acting according to the revealed scriptures, we are performing our duties, they will lead to reaction. So in the second karma case, there is no reaction. That's the primary difference between karma and akarma. And the actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. So there is karma, vikarma, and akarma, or karma, akarma, and vikarma, as the order that Prabhupada has explained this. Of these three types of actions, that which frees one from the bondage to karma is preferred by an intelligent man. Now, the karma word has multiple meanings, and we have to understand the meaning of karma. The word is same, but it's used by different people, by different acharyas or it appears in the scriptures also differently at multiple places, and every time it doesn't just mean the same. Now, there are four meanings of karma that we can easily see. Now, the karma means action. The plain meaning of the karma the word karma means action. So I am lifting this instrument. Now, this is an action. I am dropping this instrument. This is also an action. So karma in simple terms means action. Karma also means good action, as it is prescribed in this particular reference to this particular verse, that it performs good action as per the scriptures. Means prescribed duties as revealed in the scriptures, perform as revealed in the scriptures. So karma, when it is performed according to the instructions given in the scriptures, it produces a good reaction, it produces a good fruit. So it doesn't create a negative reaction, it creates a positive reaction. Even that is called karma. Karma means simple action. Karma means action according to the scriptures, which produces a good result. Or karma also is used in generically talking about the system of action reaction, that the law of karma will catch up with us soon, which means there is a system that every soul is responsible for their action. And so if you do good, you will enjoy. If you do bad action, you will suffer in future. And there is a whole system. And a system has to have many components. So there is someone who is performing action, someone who is keeping track, that is super soul, of what actions have been performed, and then someone is keeping track of which fruits are accruing and when those fruits are to be delivered, and then so that is material nature. And the soul gets their whole the reactions in due course of time. So this whole system of karma, action and reaction, is also sometimes referred to as say law of karma or karma. Karma also means reaction. So somebody may say that I'm suffering my karma. So that they're not saying that they're suffering they're not suffering because of their past actions. Some reactions have come and they are suffering those reactions. So karma is also referred to as sometimes reaction. So karma, one word has multiple meanings. One has to understand with reference to the context in which it is used, we have to understand that word. Akarma, on the other hand, means the actions that produce no actions. Akarma doesn't mean not acting. The prefix doesn't imply that don't do any action only. That is not akarma. That is not what is that is repeatedly rejected in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. So akarma means action that produces no reaction. Now this is something important to understand. So work done for the pleasure of Krishna does not produce any reaction. So when we work for him, he is like patient operating with the doctor, leading to faster recovery. Or we working for the owner of when we draw, we could be we are in a departmental store or a mall, and we may take some food stuff and we may try to go out, and the cashier will stop us, and then we will pay. We will pay from our salary, whatever money we have, and we bought according to whatever our budget was. We pay and we go out. Now this is like performing karma. We go to the mall, we take full cart of stuff, food stuff, whatever we want, and we come to the check-in counter, and when cashier try to stop us, we try to run fast and escape from the place, or we come from the back door, we pick up all the stuff and we try to run away. Now this is called vikarma. And then, but we come to the mall, we take whatever we wanted as per the list, we put it into the cart, and we go out at the counter. At the counter, they say, instead of asking for money, they say, or instead of trying to catch us, they say thank you for coming. Now, what is happening? Why would they say? When will they say like that? They'll say that when they know that we are doing this shopping for the pleasure of the owner of the store. That owner of the store, this is what we are taking, and we are going to offer it to him. So when owner wants to come and shop himself, instead of he coming, he sent us. And when we shop on his behalf, when we shop for his pleasure, that activity does not create any bondage. So that is simplistically to understand, the akarma. So here now, when you are moving out of that mall, or the cashier says, come again whenever you want. It's all your store. It's his store anyway. So he has no obligation to pay. So that produces whatever actions we produce for the pleasure of Krishna does not produce any reaction. So work done for the pleasure of Krishna, that is important. So that is akarma. In the movie example, akarma means the person walking out of moving on, knowing it to be illusion. Actions that free one from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. A person working in army may get a medal for killing many enemy soldiers in the battle. Now, this is, I think, a frequently given example that when you are working in army, you go to the border, you fight in the war, and you kill many people. Now that killing in general can have a serious punishment that one may get in any country. But when the soldier does it on the border in a war, he gets medal. Instead of punishment, he gets a medal. But it's the same soldier on his vacation come back to his hometown, and he has an argument with his neighbor over some issue, and then he pull out his gun and shoot the neighbor. Will he get a medal? No, he will get punishment, because now here he is acting on his own accord. He is acting not on behalf of the nation, not on behalf of his employer, but he is acting in his personal capacity. And when we act in our personal capacity, we become responsible for our actions. When we act on behalf of Krishna, we are no more responsible for our actions. Our Krishna, as long as we act to please Krishna, our pleasure, the motive behind our action is pleasing Krishna, make Krishna happy. As long as that is the motive, no actions that we perform can be termed as vikarma, or as they will not bear any fruits. So there's no reaction that will come. So the cowherd boys stealing is generally vikarma. We say in the mall, people break the back door, come into the mall, pack everything, and then run away before they get caught by the security guard. This is vikarma. Eventually, they will get caught, the mall will be recovered, and they will get punished. They may go to jail. But cowherd boys begging or stealing butter from the house of the elderly gopis is glorified activity, because it was done along with Krishna. So Krishna's pleasure, it was done for Krishna's pleasure, so it becomes glorious activities. Gopis going to meet Krishna at the middle of night, giving up their families, giving up their children, their duties. Had it been done otherwise, would have become an activity of criticism, would have attracted a lot of criticism, would have become vikarma. But when it is done for the pleasure of Krishna, it becomes glorious. They're still glorifying Rasadhan's pastimes. This will remain glorious forever. So activities should be done in the Krishna consciousness way, for the pleasure of Krishna when we act. So the activities that we perform in Krishna consciousness are also a karma. Are they done for the pleasure of Krishna, as per the instructions of Krishna, as per the instructions given by acharyas who were in deep love with Krishna. They acted to fulfill the will of Krishna, to establish the will of Krishna. So they were not acting on their own accord. So Prabhupada, so if we do anything, if we mold our life in such a way to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to follow the instructions given by Srila Prabhupada and our senior devotees, we will also be doing a karma. Whatever activities we'll do will not bear a fruit. So even if externally we may appear to be doing things which a karmi does or a vikarmi does, however, there will be no fruit that will get accrued to us by doing these activities. So activities in Krishna consciousness, getting up early in the morning, chanting our rounds, reading scriptures, serving devotees, serving the mission in any way we can, contributing by donating our part of our earning to Krishna, because we can't work for Krishna. So we are at least by giving some what we get out of working for someone else, when we give that portion to Krishna, our work gets purified, our money gets purified, and that way we get purified. So those actions also don't yield any reaction. So these activities in Krishna consciousness are also called karma. Prabhupada writes in the purport, factually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. Now, you are in the limbo. One cannot immediately become a pure devotee, nor can one stop working the fruitive work, because we have practiced it for such a long time. That remains. Then what should we do? We refer to the beautiful verse that we discussed a couple of weeks back. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradhihi tritivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, 10th verse says that akamaha sarva kamo va moksha kamo udaradhihi. A person who has broader intelligence, the Param Purusha, whether he be full of material desires, akamaha, sarva kamo va moksha kamo. The three type of people are described. One who is full with material desires, without material desires, or desiring liberation. Sarva kama. Kama is without material desires. Sarva kamo means with all kind of desires. And moksha kama, one is desiring, aspiring for liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Tivrena, that too with urgency. Tivrena indicates the urgency. Bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That param purusha, the purushottama, that's Krishna establishing in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that he is that purushottama, that uttam purusha. So tivrena bhakti yogena. Kaisa bhakti bhi kaise karni hai? Tivrena bhakti yogena. With a sense of urgency it has to be done. So very beautiful verse that establishes the position that Prabhupada was mentioning, that factually nobody has to do anything more than rendering of devotional service to the Lord. Now we will see what happens in the lower stages of life when we can't do that overnight. We cannot immediately become a pure devotee. We cannot give up our material desires immediately. So what is then for us? What is in it for us? Then are we excluded from the whole discussion? No, the scriptures give scriptures are inclusive. They include the whole population. They don't want to, Krishna doesn't want to leave out anybody from the scope of his of his solution that he's offering. So we have a solution now here. So Prabhupada writes that so there are three ways in which the spiritual life can be accepted by the people in general. Is spiritual life a supplement or complement to the material life? Now the question is the supplement means you don't have anything today, so take it additionally. Whatever you have in addition to that, do this. So you are today, you don't have God in your, there is no altar in your home, so there is no, you're not performing any puja. So you're only living life for the purpose of your sense gratification, for maintaining yourself and your family. You may be doing it in a completely legal way, moral way also, but there's no God is missing in your life. So add a little bit of God to your life. So that is a supplement. The spiritual life is becoming supplemental, so becoming like a supplement to the material life. So there is material life. Now, again, I'm not talking about living sinfully. I'm living morally. I'm living. I'm not harming anyone, but I'm living life according to my. But my purpose, goal of my life is to enjoy, and I'm want to trying to do it in a legal and moral way. Now, what supplementing spiritual life means is that you add Krishna into it, add God into it. So that is called supplementing spiritual life with existing material life. So introduce God into your life. There is let God also be part of your life along with the material life. So the material life becomes a predominant player and the God becomes a minor 1%, 2%, 5% player. So, but at least he's exist in the 100%. Then complement material life. When our faith increases in God, existence of God. We understand that a lot of things are not in our control, but they could be in God's control. And and if we pray to that God, we may get His mercy, and by that, what we want, we may get what we want, or whatever we have can get protected. So that we don't suffer misery, we don't suffer loss. And so with that, their faith increases in God, and then the spiritual life then become complement to the material life. There is material, it becomes kind of 50-50%. So the percentage, the supplement stage, which was say 5% of God, 95% of material life, and it increases to say 40%, 50% the spiritual life. Now we feel that without offering to God, our life is not complete. Our happiness, the pleasure that we get, we still motive behind our action is to get sense gratification only. We are not, our actions are not for the pleasure of Krishna. So we act for our pleasure of our family, for pleasure of our children, our parents. So our primary aim is to act for our own pleasure, and that is materialistic worldview. And but we do it in a God conscious way, in a much better way. So God, and we understand that without His sanction, nothing will be possible. So we perform devotional activities for maintaining and protecting our material happiness, material possessions, material world. So, but God's percentage, the spiritual life has increased. Now we feel without God, my life is incomplete. So now spiritual life has become complement to my material life. So the percentage has increased from 5% to maybe 30, 40, 50%. And later, but both are incorrect. Both are not appropriate. Krishna wants us to replace material life with a spiritual life. When we replace material life with spiritual life, it's supposed to be a replacement. It's neither supposed to be a complement, nor it's supposed to be a supplement or complement, but it's supposed to be replacement. The spiritual life eventually should replace material life, which means if when we do that, all our activities, all our desires, our only desire is to please Krishna and his devotees. Our only desire is to serve Krishna and devotees. Our only desire is to act for the pleasure of act for doing whatever that is necessary for the as per the instructions of Krishna and their devotees. So my personal, this becomes my desire. I don't have anymore a desire to do something for my own pleasure. My own pleasure comes by serving Krishna and devotees. Now, when I reach that stage, there is nothing left for me to achieve. I will achieve mountains of mountain tall happiness for my mountain tall success for Krishna. But because I want Krishna to become happy, I will do everything and anything for making Krishna happy. Now, this is where this can happen when we replace spiritual life with material life. Now, material life no longer exists. Even though we exist in the material world, even though we act in the material world, the material life doesn't affect us. Now, this is performance of karma completely. Now, ideally, we should replace our material life and we should be entirely engaged in the activities for the pleasure of Krishna. That should be our ultimate goal. A conditioned soul is accustomed to working for sense gratification, for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. Now, Prabhupada will take that point and then immediate and extended. That Prabhupada will explain more, a little bit in more detail. An ordinary man works for his own sense enjoyment. And when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana. Very important statement. That these isms are certainly, Prabhupada is writing, certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage. Means they seems very attractive, but end of the day they are karma bandhana. Now, which are they? Nationalism, humanitarianism, uh, so and even taking care of their family and all so on so things. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Ishopanishad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, he should make them God-centered. So, please, Prabhuji, can you tell me why is Prabhupada saying that they are very attractive forms of karma bandhana?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, actually, I had raised my hand on the other question, which probably has been answered. Prabhuji, can I answer later on, Prabhuji?
Okay, Prabhuji. Nupur and then Vikas Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, Prabhupada is saying that if we just a second. Huh. So attractive names of such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, humanitarianism are other forms of attachments. We generally feel that if we just work for ourselves, then we may be called as selfish. But if we work for our family, if we work for our community, society, our state, nation, and then entire humanity, then people will actually not call us selfish, but they will, they will recognize our work, and they will like it, and we will get complimented, and we also will have a sense of doing something good, and sense of uh, being successful in changing other people's life in some way or other. But actually it is not leading us to Krishna. It is not leading us to ultimate satisfaction, ultimate perfection of life. So if we ever want to do any kind of this work, we have to add Krishna in that. So if we are supposed we are donating some food, then we should offer that food first to Krishna and then donate, so that they eat prasad and they get bhakti, they get Krishna prem. So that is the real sense. And also, if I would like to give one example which I heard in some lecture. So if a child is crying and we bring up and he's lost, he has no parents with him currently. He has lost. So if we give him chocolate, then he might stop crying for some time, and after eating that chocolate, he may again start crying. But if we try to find his parents, then maybe after finding his parents, after meeting his parents, he will be happy. So that's how I can understand that if we try to minimize our problems by some material solution, then those problems are again going to come. But if we replace everything with Krishna, then the root cause of problem will be solved. Yes, that's what I understood, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you for such a beautiful elaborate answer. Very nice. Thank you so much. Vikas Prabhuji and then Subhu Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Mataji elaborately mentioned about that. And what I was thinking that this ism, why these fruit calling them, finding them at very attractive forms of karma bandhana. Because in every form of these ism, the one who is doing will be thinking that karta I am bhogi, siddhu I am balvan sukhi. That kind of a mental state of him will be. At least he will think that I am the doer of this. And a sense of prestige will come that in return I should be rewarded with some kind of fame, prestige, some kind of name should come that this has been done by me. So ultimately the doer of those, if someone is devoting his life for the nationality and that nationalism is there in him, so ultimately he forgets that my nature is the soul and my nature is not this body. So ultimately I am not doing the actual purpose. Means the actual purpose is to love and serve Krishna. But ultimately, uh, Shamik. So ultimately, just I am creating a bondage in the form that means I am limiting myself in the boundary, whereas my situation as a soul is boundaryless, and my purpose is also the boundaryless. Means in terms of materialistic spheres, that my purpose is to love and serve Krishna. So these isms are just creating those kind of boundaries, and in that one is seeking pleasure, and those seeking pleasure is just meant for his own self and not for the Lord. And that is why these are creating the bondage for oneself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Sudhir Prabhuji, a very quick time.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, what I understand is that whatever we do, the activities needs to be differentiated between whether it is I am doing it for me or I am keeping Krishna in the center, at the center. So, when I am doing it for me, it can be for the country, for the society, for the family, for anything, but it is for me. I am doing it for that purpose. But other than that, if we do whatever I'm doing, if I'm doing it keeping Krishna at the center, then that does not attract karma bandhana.
Okay, yeah, that's a point that let's move further. Sorry, Satyaji, Jyotirmoji, we just using a little bit time, we're just running behind time, so we're very close to one. Need to complete the session this hours. So basically there are paradharmas. So paradharma is a pure devotional service, means acting solely for the pleasure of Krishna, strictly as per his instructions. Then there is aparadharma. Paradharma are our duties towards family, caste, nation, humanity in general, etc. Now the paradharma is the best. Obviously, if we can, that is like a replacement of material life by spiritual life, where living life of pure devotee, where we whatever we are thinking, doing, and willing and acting only as for the pleasure of Krishna. So that's complete sarvadharman parityajya kind of a stage. And aparadharma is where we generally see ourselves. We are having family, we are having our own bodily needs, which we want to take care of. Then there are duties towards family, there is duties towards caste, there are duties towards community, nation, human being also as animals, towards animals we feel responsible and so on and so forth. So there is aparadharma. So we need to at least spiritualize aparadharma. So we cannot give up aparadharma immediately. It's like if you are in KG, immediately next year we cannot go to a postgraduate stage. So there will have to be some gradual elevation that has to happen. So we need to, but what we can do is we can at least spiritualize our paradharma by bringing God into it. If we are unable to act as per paradharma at the beginning, because that's what will be the stage for everyone. How it is done practically is shown by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. In 2.13, Krishna gives a solid philosophical knowledge that dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha deham tarapraptir dhiras tatradam yati. That you are a soul and you are inside a body. The body will change and will get destroyed eventually, and you will not get destroyed. So now that's a very spiritually, very philosophically, very solid point that Krishna makes right at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, speaking of Bhagavad Gita, that gives true identification to Arjuna. Now, in the next verse, very next verse, Krishna is saying, Krishna is addressing Arjuna by as a Kaunteya, Matra Sparshas to Kaunteya, and then Shri Krishna Sukha Agama Pai no Nityastam Sthiti Kshasva Bharata. The Kaunteya and Bharata. Kaunteya means you are son of Kunti Maharani, the son of Kunti Maharani. No? Son and so son and mother are bodily relationship. And then Bharata. Bharata means you are descendant of King Bharata. Bharata, the descendant also is a bodily designation that your body is born in this kula, and therefore you are called Bharata. And Kaunteya because you are son of Kunti Maharani. Now, question is Krishna contradicting himself by first saying that you are not a body, but then immediately giving him bodily designations? Why not ask this question, because we are running out of time. But this would have been another fascinating discussion, group discussion for because considering all of you are so spiritually elevated, you have given some lot of brought some lot of good points on this topic as well. But let's move forward very quickly. The Krishna is not contradicting himself by this statement by using bodily designations to address Arjuna in the very next verse. So Krishna is actually Krishna is reminding Arjuna of his apara dharma. Apara connection. The apara connection is family connection to go towards the paradharma. So when we have apara dharma, when we have family, our nation, community, caste, religion, those identifications, those identities are difficult to give up immediately. Even though Sarvadharman Pratyaja is there, it's for implementation is extremely very, very difficult. So just like for a KG boy or a first standard boy, understanding problems in the post-graduation study is difficult. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. So one should not massage our false ego. Our false ego is we are Indians. When India is a great nation, all the gods, demigods, they choose to take birth in India. India is a place where God was there. God took birth in Vrindavan, Ayodhya, and there are so many beautiful places. There are so many wonderful places. There's a wonderful place like the Char Dham are there. Then there is so many Gangas in this land. So it's such a great land, and so our nation is great, and I am great. So massaging that way our false ego is not going to help us. Pinching false ego is also not helping us, because if you pinch, say false ego means you are Indian, what kind of a country you are. There's so many people who sleep hungry. The poverty index is low. There's huge poverty in your country. There's few rich people, but huge poor people. The per capita is lower there so much, and so many corruption is there. This is there, pollution is there. This is nobody follow rules. Roads are bad. Everything. You can pinch your false ego with reference to in India. Now both way, you're alienating the person. Now whatever happens, if we massage somebody's ego, he can never become a good devotee by massaging somebody's ego. But pinching ego also he will go away. because he cannot give up his attachment. You are not his body, you are soul. Soul is not Indian, neither Pakistani nor American. So as a soul, so Prabhupada will speak like that always, but he will also utilize their national pride, their nation connection to help them move forward in the Krishna consciousness, to help them come closer to Krishna. So Arjuna, by addressing Arjuna as a Kaunteya, is saying, you are son of Kunti Maharani, is such a great personality. So you should learn this knowledge with heart. You are a descendant of Bharata, so you should learn to tolerate. You know, there are so many great personalities that are there in your dynasty. So how they tolerated, you should also tolerate. Tam Stitikshasva Bharata. So you should tolerate, you should learn to tolerate. There will be good, bad, ugly events happening in your life, but you should tolerate them because you are a son of Kunti Maharani, who is such a great personality, who tolerated so much. You are a descendant of Bharat Maharaj, and so on and so on. So Krishna is patting his falsehood. By patting, we just pat and move forward. Help move forward. Patting is easy. Patting is not massaging, not glorifying, not pinching also, not hurting also. But patting is pat and move forward, help move forward. So remind falsely to engage. So using his falsehood to engage himself in the devotional service. That's why Krishna is using those two designations of Kaunteya and Bharata. Srila Prabhupada also encouraged, did something similar. So while spreading Krishna consciousness, when he would meet Indians, he would tell them, "You are Indians, and Bhagavad Gita is your legacy. It's happened in your land, and you all should learn it, and you should be teaching this philosophy to the entire world." Here, American students have like Bhagavad Gita so much that they have done the Sarva Dharma Parityaja, and now they are coming to India to teach you Bhagavad Gita. The knowledge which got originated in your own land, you are now learning that from Americans. So you should be doing it. So that's how Prabhupada was encouraging Indians. And how Prabhupada encouraged Americans, that there was Pandal program was to happen in Mumbai. And then he said, "You are Americans. You are used to do grand things, not ordinary things. So do this Pandal program, do it in such a way that people for long, long time will remember this, should remember this." And that's how it happened. Even today, those programs are being talked about. There were thousands and thousands of people visited every day at Cross Maidan, and Prabhupada went on for 10 days. So what was Prabhupada doing? Prabhupada doesn't know that American's soul is not neither American nor Indian. No. But people at initial level cannot come directly to the pure devotion service level, cannot immediately do Sarvadharman Parityaja. They can, but most people will find it difficult to do. So Prabhupada is utilizing their present attachment to help them come closer to Krishna. So it's like a person in KG cannot be expected to learn postgraduate problems. So there is no harm. Prabhupada writes in the purport, there is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist or a socialist or a communist or a nationalist or a humanitarian, provided that one execute his activities in relation with Ishavasya or the God center conception. How we can encourage people to begin their spiritual life by bringing God into their life? At first, a person may think my home is everything. But later, the person may realize that God is there. And then God, where is God? Where I can access God? God is in the temple. So person may start visiting temple. Later, one will bring God, make some space, create some space inside his house and establish God there. They could put a frame or can bring a deity of Lord and start worshipping. So it's not just temple is where God is. My home is also where God is present. Now, slowly this conception grows, and he says, my home has become my temple. My home is also equivalent of my temple only. And then eventually, the person will say that my heart has become temple. Temple is a place where Lord sits, Lord resides, Lord take rest, Lord is glorified. And now that place is my heart. My heart, that's the stage of becoming a pure devotee, where you will say that my heart has become a temple. I just don't have a temple in my home, or I just don't visit temple. My heart has become temple. Now everything I do for the pleasure of Krishna, for glorification of Krishna. So the progression is important. So we have to be all inclusive. With God we flourish. Without God we perish. Bhagavad Gita 2.40 confirms that whatever we do in spiritual life will give us eternal benefit. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. A very important statement. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than something glorified, something shining, something which is respected and talked about by the whole world, where God doesn't exist. Without God, whatever we do can be good, but it can never become good enough to free us from the bondage of karmic reactions, which will only help us escape from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Again, very important statement. It is good, but not good enough. Feeding poor is good, but not good enough until you feed them with prasad. Donating money to blind organization is good, but it's not good enough unless you also give them Braille Bhagavad Gita written in Braille, or or engage them in Krishna consciousness activities. Even though they are blind, they can sing, they can dance in the kirtan, they can also get connected with Krishna. So you can think of any other ism that we wish to do, that we must be doing in past, and if we don't connect the Krishna, bring Krishna into it, it remains incomplete. It remains karmic. It will produce no reaction, and instead of becoming free from reaction, we get bound by new reactions, and that is becomes the root cause of our existence in the world. We may have to take birth again, to even if we have to come and enjoy the good fruits of our good actions. We are still bound, we are still stuck in the material world. Sri Ishopanishad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. So we should judge, somebody said, I think Sudhir Prabhuji or somebody said, we should judge our life by content, not by the duration, but by the content. What is the quality of life that we are living? And itself, long life doesn't signify anything. It's meaningless. It's rather harmful, because if you're living life in a sinful way, the longer you live, more sins you will commit, and more it will become difficult for you to accept Ishwara's authority, accept Ishwara, and practice devotional service. A thief and a sinner will not be peaceful, will never become happy. And that's the root cause of our misery, being miserable, living miserable life in the material world, and why we get caught and unable to escape from this material world. Prabhupada writes in further in the purport, a tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like tree, or breathing like willow, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless altruism, socialism. Even though such God-centered activities may not be half finished, they are still good for the executors, because they will guarantee him human form in the next earth. So again, make reference to the 2.40 and then 6.37 and 2.42, where Krishna says that Arjuna asked a question that if this is not finished, the business of becoming Krishna conscious and going back to Krishna by doing Sarvodharman Parityajya, if this is not finished, what happens to the seeker, what the person, the devotee? So Arjuna, Krishna answers in beautiful way that such endeavors is never lost. And in fact, they will get birth in the family of dhimat, of rich individuals and vidwan, of learned people, pandita, and those families will offer them immediate facility for practicing Krishna consciousness at a very early age. So they will take to Krishna consciousness in a helpless way. Avasha, avasha is as, as if magnet, as if metal get attracted to a magnet, like that they will get attracted to the spiritual path, and they will start from where they had left off in the previous life. So there is no loss either way. To summarize, knowing that the people in general are attached to their family, religion, caste, and nation, etc., but they have some inclination to do good for people in general. Now we need to encourage them to learn about God, to include Him in all our activities, and then one is engaged with with so that for purification and elevation happens. Once it's engaged in this way, it will lead to purification and elevation. So bring God into our life. Maybe 1%, maybe 5%, maybe 10%. Let it increase to 30, 40, 50%. Eventually, it should replace our material life. Material life percentage should go on declining, go on reducing. This way, living as per the instructions of God will help ourselves and will also help the society to become a peaceful and happy place to live. Because no one is trying to encourage other people's share, and that way we'll become peaceful, we'll become happy by living in line with the Isha Vasya principle. And the next verse we'll discuss the harmful effect of not following this principle in the next session. So we talk about the facility for japa and hearing. Through this, we can stay Krishna conscious throughout the week as well. We also have Saturday class, which we publish on the group, which is given by Nautam Prabhuji. His based Nautam Prabhuji, beautiful discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. It's also available on Zoom, so all of you should try and take maximum advantage of it. So we'll go to the question and answer, if any, or we'll come to the end of the session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful session, Prabhuji. And in every session, you bring some kind of hope to us. Like you beautifully mentioned that from in starting, we can actually bring a DT home of the Lord, like in a photo frame or DT, and we can start building start making our home as temple. Means from visiting temple to simultaneously making our home as temple, and then to transform the heart to as a temple. And I was actually at that time contemplating that that is actually only possible with the mercy of the senior devotees and acharyas. So, and you have been perpetually merciful onto everyone whoever is attending the sessions, because at least the stone-hearted heart is melting to some extent, to some degrees, and that is because of your such wholehearted endeavors. And I was so pleased with, not in that way that my heart was literally pleased, but I was pleased with your endeavor when I heard you in the last evening when you said that someone is actually ill and you are spending the sleepless nights, and despite that you are making such great endeavors, and that gives us actually the inspirations to do something better or something more, whatever we are doing at this current state, and to enhance it to more and more. So in that contemplation, I was thinking on these both lines, that how we can make our heart as temple, rather even home is yet to become a temple. But ultimately, these hopeful lines gives us the deep, intense hope that ultimately, since this has happened to many devotees in past, and it has happened to many saintly persons, as Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. So ultimately, hopes are available for all of us as well, since the association of the devotees like you, like His Grace Nautam Prabhuji, like many other sincere, committed devotees are there who are trying to transform and making the life of other insignificant souls, at least like me, as the happy places to live, even in this materialistic, miserable life as well. So I don't find appropriate words to thank you for your those great endeavors, but thank you very much for elaborating the teachings of Srila Prabhupada in the practical aspects, that how we can do what is actually required to uplift our consciousness in the spiritual consciousness. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your beautiful endeavors. Hare Krishna. Dandvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Praise to our senior devotees and Srila Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya. Satyavji, you have a question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. First of all, thank you very much for such a nice and thrilling session. And Prabhuji, want to wish you blessed years. I believe you had a birthday, and I want to wish you blessed coming years with Krishna consciousness. Prabhuji, the question was with respect to karmas. A very basic question is that karma is a function of mind, or it's a function of the soul? Because this has been always a question, that whenever we talk about mind, the first action or the karma which originates from the mind, and then we do an action, whereas the soul is responsible for that action. And
We lost you. Let's certainly wait.
yeah,
Are you there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, don't.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, I just wanted to understand is that when we talk about
Question is karma, whether it originates at a level of mind or at a when we physically perform an activity. Is that the question?
yeah, one of the question, and particularly when we talk about karma for a person who becomes insane, or his mind is not operative in a right direction, we call him as a insane. And then the karmas are not taken into consideration for a person, for an insane person. So in such a case, how do we explain that his soul is responsible for his karmas, and what exactly such a person need to be treated with?
Yeah. So the first question is whether you haven't gone mute, Rajiv. Yes, here. Yeah. So the first question is whether karma is that a function of a mind or a soul? Who soul takes the responsibility, but we understand that for the practical, we see that a lot of desires actually get originated in the mind. So the Bhagavad Gita offers a solution to this. Bhagavatam also offers different things that karma is not incurred when you think when a sinful desire comes in your mind, there is no karmic reaction given to us for thinking sinfully. In the previous yugas, that was not the case. Even you would incur a karma, even if a thought crosses your mind, a sinful thought comes to your mind. Today, in the Kali Yuga, that exemption, had that exemption not been given, there would have been no hope for anybody to purify themselves and elevate themselves, their consciousness in any way. So first of all, for thinking sinfully, one is not incurring karma. That's the advantage of current or facility available in the current Kali Yuga. Second is, and that's by Krishna's mercy that is available. So second is when my mind is primarily responsible for thinking, and then why my soul gets the punishment. of getting the reaction accruing to him, and then going through the cycle of repeated birth. It's all happened at the control at the level of my mind. But soul, so the desires will always originate at the level of, and it is responsibility. The training is to be given to the soul to accept, reject the wrongful desires that come from them. And if that training, just like options in the multiple choice question answer session, MCQ exam paper, you'll always have four options given for every question. And you're supposed to be trained in such a way that you take the right answer and get the right full marks for that question. That if you say that all options have come from the examiner, so let me tick any option, it does not matter. We may do horribly wrong in that exam, because whatever comes from the mind, if we are unable to discriminate and differentiate between them, between right and wrong, and accept whatever that comes from within as a desire of Lord, desire of the soul, we will go for big time. And then that is the responsibility given to the soul to get himself trained from reading of scriptures, reading of Bhagavad Gita, and tick right box. Accept what is right, reject what is wrong. Prabhupada writes in the purport of, he quotes the Shranavati verse in the purport to 18.66 Bhagavad Gita shloka. Right? Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. This is the first thing that we have to do. Accept what is anukul for bhakti. Reject what is pratikul for bhakti. And that knowledge comes from study of scriptures. If soul can't do this, then it must accept responsibility for doing wrong actions. Even though from wherever they might be originating from, they might be originating from our neighborhood, our surrounding, our association. Just like Ananda Mataji, when she said that I may develop a desire to get up and get out of that movie hall. However, the person sitting next to me may hold our hand, say that, oh no, this will go away. The rest of the movie is very nice. Sit down. And then if we choose to sit down into that illusion for more time, then we have ourselves to blame. Bhagavad Gita gives a clear hierarchy of sense, object, sense, working senses, mind, intelligence, and soul in the 3.42 of Bhagavad Gita. This hierarchy comes, and if the soul is unable to control all these subordinates, then soul becomes responsible when something wrong happens. And then the worst thing to happen for us is to do sinful activities, and but bad thing means we are still doing good activities and accruing good karmic reactions, karmic knowledge, and thereby getting stuck in the repeated cycle of birth. So we neither want we neither want to do sinful activities, nor we want to do very good activities and remain in the material world, bound in the material world. We want to do akarma. We want our focus should be on to do how I can do akarma. And when we act in the Krishna conscious way, we are acting in the akarma. We are doing akarma. Now the akarma is a similar looking action to akarma or vikarma, but it will not yield any reaction. There is no reaction that will be suffer or enjoy for it. The reaction-free karma is akarma. And when we perform that, and we perform our sadhana, when we perform that activity, it does not give us new fruit. When we perform hearing and chanting, we can burn our past previous accumulated akarma. Thereby, we can become free of our bondage. And then we become eligible to go back to Krishna. Very simple. So talking about the insane person, Vaishnavi Mother will come to you very quickly. Talking about an insane person is a sickness. Insanity is a sickness of mind. Like just like we have sickness of body. If I fall sick and if I get a fever and if I do something wrong in that stage, I'm not in the best of my mental capacity to think and decide. But if I do something wrong in that sick situation, I still am responsible for my action. Similarly, the mental retardedness or insanity is a sickness of mind, where one's mind doesn't seem to be in one's control. One is not able to think rationally, decide on his right and wrong course of actions, and evaluate alternatives to decide what is better, what is wrong, and then may act in whimsical way. Not, will soul be responsible for such actions? Yes. Soul continues to be responsible for the action because mind cannot be punished. The mind, so soul is in a superior authority. Just like if I am a manager, anybody who works under me, whatever right, wrong they do, I become responsible for them. Similarly, soul is responsible, continues to remain responsible for whatever wrong actions that it is allowing this insane mind to do. So that way, soul continues to have that accountability. So thank you so much, Vijay, for this wonderful question. Vaishnavi, I have a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji also said like sins performed in the mind are neglected and not counted by Krishna. So what about the offenses? Offenses performed in mind, how they
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
means so sins when performed in mind, they are not counted. So what about the offenses? How things go for offenses?
Yeah, even offenses. Sin. What are sins? Sinful desires. We may think of something, doing something which is immoral, sinful, offensive to others. Now, all those thoughts may cross our mind, and but we are not punished for those. They don't yield a reaction just by thinking to do something wrong to somebody else, thinking to do something immoral, thinking to do something wrong. So for thinking wrong, we are not punished in the current Kali Yuga. But unless we act on it.
Specifically for spiritual offenses, like
Spiritual offenses,
yes.
Even for spiritual offenses. But for thinking about going to Dham, visiting Dham, thinking about, oh, from tomorrow onwards, every day I will wake up early morning and I will do all my japa. The thinking to do spiritual activities give us fruit. It's the reverse, opposite. So, but just by thinking that let me visit Dham, let me contemplating, I will visit Vrindavan, I will visit Mayapur, I will go to ISKCON Bhiwandi for celebrating God on a festival. Just by thinking and meditating on it, we get benefited. But by thinking wrong things, we don't get punished. That's the advantage that we have.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can I extend my question, Prabhuji, about, I mean, it's not, if, okay, Prabhuji, okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sure, Prabhuji.
Sorry,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Sorry, so let's
No problem, Prabhuji. I'm sorry about this. Yes. Thank you,
So
Prabhuji.
I actually, because in this discussion, the discussion extended quite longish time, and we have to wrap up the session by wait until 1:10. So nevertheless, you can send the question, you can continue. Thank you so much for those who stayed back.
Hare Krishna.
It's been
Thank you,
it's been a
Prabhuji.
long session. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful
Thank you,
week ahead,
Prabhuji.
and we'll meet in the coming session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat
Thank
Pranam.
you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Dandavat,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.